Hello, good afternoon. Welcome back to Life with Pops. Thanks for clicking on this video this afternoon. I wanted to tell you today about my own Garden of Eden experience. But first of all, what is it about these little beauties, these apples? Why have they played such an important part in mankind's history? Well, if you think back to the Garden of Eden in Bible times, both Eve and Adam ate of the apple when they were told not to do. That in turn brought sin and death into the world. And then, even in fairy tales, the writers have been writing and giving apples a bad name, saying that if you go to Snow White, for example, the wicked witch had a poisonous apple for Snow White to eat, which would induce years of sleep until the prince came and awoke her from her sleep. And then when I think back to the 60s times, the Beatles, the most popular band in the 1960s, they formed their own record company. And what did they use as their logo? An apple. Yeah, if you remember the old records, on one side there was the shiny side of the apple, and on the B side of the record it was cut in half and you saw inside the apple. And now today, of course, the most famous high-tech manufacturers are of course Apple, which is the favourite things that I like to use, but everybody has their own preferences. But I digress there. Let me get back to the main thing of how apples played an important part in my early childhood, and I'll relate to you what happened with me. When I was a child, we played out most of the times. We went out on our bikes, and when I was a young boy of about 7 or 8, we'd have our own little group. And one afternoon we decided that we'd do something good. We'd been playing soldiers and commandos, and we thought we'd go. There was an orchard quite near to where we lived, and we thought we'd go and get some apples. Now, we would have to steal these apples, which it wasn't right, but in those days people had different ideas about doing things. So we got on our bikes and we set off. We thought we were commandos going on a do or die mission. So we got to the orchard, and we arrived there. We jumped over the wall, making sure there was no one about, and we quickly began to get the apples, stuffing all these little beauties into our coats, into our pockets. Anywhere we could put them, we got the apples. And then we'd finished getting as many as we could carry. We were just climbing back over the wall when we hear this sound. "You boys, stay there, don't move. You've been pinching my apples, stay there." So when we heard this, we all panicked. You can imagine the feeling. We quickly started emptying some of our pockets. We jumped over the wall, got back on our bikes, and we shot off. Did we burn rubber? We really made a break for it. And if the guy had been Usain Bolt, he wouldn't have caught us because we were gone like rockets. Yeah, the guy had really frightened us, but I was thinking on the way home, how am I going to get round this? So before I went into my house, I went into the garden next door and I put all my remaining apples, emptied my pockets and threw them into their garden. And I went home, cool as a cucumber, and I thought, well, I should be okay. I'm not going to say anything, and I'm sure my friends aren't going to say anything. So I went into the house thinking I should be okay at this point. And I went upstairs to my room, started listening to some music, playing, and I tried to put it out of my memory. Unfortunately, I was about to discover the meaning of the famous saying, "How wrong can one be?" About 2 hours later, a policeman came to the house. He knocked on the door. Mum answered the door, and the policeman gave my name. "Does this person live at this house?" She said, "Yes, it's my son." So I was upstairs in my bedroom. All of a sudden I heard, come down, I want to see you," from my mum. "Come down now." And my heart began to sink because I thought, as somebody told of us, I were going to be caught. And the policeman there relayed all the story of us going to the orchard and pinching the apples. And my mum and my dad were looking on in horror. You know, the little boy's been caught pinching. And apparently what had happened is the owner had recognised one of my friends, and when he was questioned, because he went straight to his house, he gave all the names of all the other boys that were involved, so my name came up, and so I was going to be in trouble. Yes, I was unfortunately part of these brothers in crime. And when the policeman had gone, my mum was there. She gave me the biggest dressing down I've ever had in my life. I can remember it to this day. And then, of course, when she'd finished, Dad said, "Right, upstairs." And I knew what that meant. As we got to my room upstairs, Dad unbuckled his belt, and I got a good belting, a good hiding, and of course I deserved it. It comes to my mind now, spare the rod, ruin the child, and Dad didn't spare the rod, but I know now it was for my own benefit, although at the time I was in pain. So as I cried there after Dad had gone, and I cried there into my pillow, I felt at the time my life was ruined. I'd let my family down, my parents down. And recently I read an account by St. Augustine about when he was a little boy, that he didn't steal the apples, but he stole pears. He didn't steal these, but pears, which is a similar thing. And he did it not because he wanted to eat the fruit or to prove anything. He just did it because he could. And later in life, he realised how bad it had been, and he said sorry to God, and he was forgiven. He became a saint. So looking back at my experience, I can see, yes, of course it was wrong. You should never steal, but it taught me a valuable lesson in life. You won't get away with things. You will be caught, and it's a good thing because that set me on the path of straight and narrow. So remember, guys, don't think you're going to get away with anything. Own up, admit it, and then you can be forgiven, and it will put you on the straight and narrow. Another point that St. Augustine said is that God is giving us a chance to turn our lives around, is merciful to us, and if we say we're sorry and He will forgive us, then we can move forward from that one. And then I can honestly say that from that day to this, I never stole anything ever again. So these little apples, yes, they have a lot to answer for, but they did put me on the right track, and I'm grateful. So thank you for watching, guys. I just wanted to share that experience with you. If you've got children, you can tell them a similar story. A similar thing may have happened to you. So thank you for watching, and remember, life is good, but life is better with Pops. Thank you. Please subscribe and like. Thank you.